Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Car Wash Magazine Live. I am your host as always, Matt DeWolf, Editor-in-Chief of Car Wash Magazine, and your host on this adventure as we go through this together. So, if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. So glad to have you here. This is a weekly broadcast for you to keep you connected to what's going on in the car wash industry, and our goal here really is to give you one key takeaway each week that you can take back to your business right away. And we're going to do that by keeping this pretty tight, right? We're going to do this in 10 minutes or less. That's the goal. I talk a lot sometimes, so we'll see how we can do on that. But we're going to do that for you throughout the weeks. One time per month, we're going to go deep. We're going to go deep on the last Thursday of every month with a special expert panel. That might cover marketing. That might be women in leadership. That might be technology. That might be talent management. So we're going to switch those up. We're going to bring in different groups of experts, both in and outside of the industry, to give you all some things to take back to your business and make better choices. So before we get into that, I want to remind everybody about one thing going on this month. There is a special ICA member month happening, and so there are some exclusive ICA member opportunities available. There's a vehicle technology webinar presentation with Derek Kaufman. That's going to be happening later this month. There's also a Pitch Live presentation. So that is some of the hottest finds from the Car Wash of 2022. You'll be able to do that if you're an IC member. And then there's all kinds of access to some of the other Pitch 20 sessions that were done at the Car Wash Show in Nashville. One of those, I think, was this Armadillo company. They sent me a little rust proofing thing, so check that out. We'll be able to play that for you here if you're an ICA member, and you'll get those emails later this month. Now, special shout out real quick. I want to say thanks to Big Dan's Car Wash. They sent me some swag last week, a super cool hat and a Yeti cup. Thank you so much for that. Super appreciated. I have lots of great car wash stuff. I love getting that stuff. And secondary thanks to JetBrite, my friends there. I had gotten a sweatshirt from JetBrite when I got to visit them. I had a little bit of a mishap with some motor oil, and I asked them maybe if I could get another one. They were nice enough to send me one. Guys, girls, best sweatshirt on the planet. That JetBrite sweatshirt, you should, if you want some good stuff for your organization, you should ask them where they bought theirs because they're phenomenal. Now, One thing for you right off the bat. We're going to get into it. I've got one thing for you from last week's conversation, which was our deep dive with women in leadership. It was from the Car Wash Show 2022. Here's one thing you can take away right now.
Well, I mean, I think one of the powerful things about this journey is actually talking to your peers, and a lot of times it's not intentional, and I think it's just about opening the door for them to understand some of the challenges, and you'd be surprised that they become your strongest allies. Mm-hmm. For me in particular, I have a colleague of mine that is not here right now currently, Joe Matheny, that as him and I were on the road together, it was a matter of just mutual understanding and telling him, like, he's like, you realize that both of us show up on the site and there's an immediate assumption that you know what you're talking about because you're a man, you're in the car wash industry, you automatically know. I said, it takes for me about 30 minutes to start talking for them to realize that I actually know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And that was early in our careers, and guess what? From then on, every single site visit that we went on, he said, hey, you know what? This is Myra Chimenti. She knows what she's talking about. Don't mess with her. And it created this, it saved me 30 minutes of my time and we can get right to work. But it's creating that awareness that I think people just assume, oh, it's because I'm a woman, they don't want to talk to me. No, it's a matter of having the conversations of expressing the real challenges that are out there, and you'd be surprised that those male colleagues become your biggest fans and your biggest allies. I've got one sitting right here in the front row.
All right, so there's one quick thing. You can go back and catch that episode. The full episode is in a podcast conversation. If you're interested in learning more about that, that's a great reminder of how we can set each other up for success by setting some of those expectations out and doing a nice introduction in all of our business environments. So super great stuff from there. Let's jump into the news real quick. I said 10 minutes or less. I'm going to try to stick to that, so let's see what we can do. So this week happening in the news, of course, we've got mergers and acquisitions activity. Love, they've acquired 6 in Jacksonville with another 7 planned in that metro area, so they're growing pretty hardcore down there, so that's good for them. Driven Brands, they opened number 350 in Arkansas, and so their trajectory, I think they opened some 110 locations in 2021, so that's pretty crazy, right? So this thing is only getting faster, friends, so get on the ship here, because we're leaving the port. Let's see, what else do I got for you? I've got Motor City and Stinger won Best Booth Awards at the Car Wash Show 2022 in Nashville. This was the first year that we offered a big booth and kind of a medium tier booth category to kind of help spread the love and really showcase some of the great booths that show up at that trade show. So congratulations to both of them. And then we've got a People on the Move announcement here. Mammoth Holdings announced that Jennifer Vandervelt is their new CFO. She comes to us from European Wax Centers. So Jennifer, welcome to the car wash industry. You probably are here to stay. You're welcome for that. So last thing I've got on this front, we've got Splash Car Washes in the Northeast. They were named a top workplace nationally by an organization there. So kudos to them. That always bodes well for the ability to hire and retain top talent. So good job to our friends in Splash. And I've got one more promo for you. This one's pretty cool. We've got our latest issue of Car Wash the magazine. See what I did there? Car Wash magazine dropped recently, and so in there's an article about training and technology and training specifically. And so one of those articles is called Plug Into Training, and that's available on our website. But it talks about all kinds of training technology, including virtual reality. So check out this shot of some of the folks at Benny's down in Louisiana doing their virtual reality training. How cool is that? So just one of the things we're talking about in that article. Well worth your time and well worth the read. I think it's super cool stuff. A lot of great information in there for you. So last thing I've got for you here, coming up on the podcast this week, we dropped this episode just yesterday. We've got ICA CEO Eric Wolf and Rob Shessel from Splash Car Washes in China having a great conversation. Check out this bit right here.
Chinese customers are very open to change. I mean, you look at what's happened in China over the past 20, 30 years. I mean, the country reinvents itself every few years. So they're very receptive to change. However, they're very educated. They spend an extraordinary amount of time on their phones, researching, watching videos, understanding. So, you know, we talked to some people in the industry when we opened our first tunnel who said, you know, there's going to be lines around the block, you know, all day, every day. Talked to others, most actually who were in China said there's no way you could support a business of this scale just washing cars. You have to do maintenance, you have to do other things. It's impossible. And what we found was it was a gradual, there was a learning curve, absolutely. And we had to educate and, so, we had, that was, that slowed the growth curve for that business, certainly, but it was very quickly able to support itself, was break even very quickly. But yes, it's a slow, they are educated consumers. They take their time. So if you're an unrecognized brand, and certainly we are an unrecognized brand and an unrecognized service, it took time. But now we're seeing this is accelerating. I mean, there's still a ways to go. But we see as we open a new site today versus when we opened a new site 3 years ago, much quicker that site will get up to certainly break even levels and more closer to where our targets are.
All right, so that's just a little snippet of that conversation with Rob Schessel from Splash Car Wash. It's in China. Really fascinating stuff. A lot of really cool stuff happening over in China as it relates to kind of the emergence of express tunnels. And so Rob is very open to have any kind of conversations with anybody who's maybe interested or wants to just learn a little more. If you want the full conversation, check it out at Car Wash the Podcast. Look, if you like this format, let me know. We're trying to be really tight, really quick for you to keep you on your way, doing great things out there washing cars. If you want longer form stuff, that's available for you at the podcast. And like I said early on in the program, the last Thursday of every month, we're diving deep. And friends, when you're out there, there's just one thing you've got to do. There's actually two. Number one is rate and review our show wherever you're consuming it. Make sure that podcast gets a rating and a review. Now, the second thing, which is really the most important thing, is that you got it, keep it clean.